You may have been told not to duplicate your guitar tracks or your DIs or whatever it is and then blending tones together. You may have been told not to do that because of phase issues. Well, I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't have to worry about any of that, and we're going to unpack why it's something that you should probably end up experimenting with yourself. Phase relationship is always going to be there between sound sources. And like I've covered in past videos before, just because something has a phase relationship with something doesn't mean that that relationship is bad. It's like, I have a relationship with my mother, I have a relationship with my father. Doesn't mean that just because, a lot of people have bad relationships with their mothers or their fathers, I hope you have a good one, that mine is a bad relationship with my mother and my father, in the same way that just because other people don't know how to dial in tones and don't know what they're doing, and they have bad phase relationships with their duplicated guitar tracks and their tone blended sources, that it's going to be the same for me or that it's going to be the same for you. You got to experiment with this stuff and see what works. When you're blending tones together, you want to be aware that phase issues can come up. You want to be aware and cognizant of the fact that it can be a problem, but there's a lot of ways to be able to counteract bad phase. And let's say you do have just bad phase, and it's just the phase relationship between your sources is booty cheese. Well, Sound Radix makes a great plugin called Auto Align, and you can auto align it, and usually that will take care of your issue just right then and there. I would say that that's like your last point of attack that you should be going for, that you should just have tones already that jive with each other. So if you are producing, or even if you're mixing, and you want to create a tone to be able to supplement the guitars or the bass or whatever it is that you already have there, you can now use the knowledge of your tone creation that you do in production and all of that stuff while you're mixing to create something that is going to complement and supplement the guitar tone or the bass tone or whatever it is that's already there. And changing the cab, like I've mentioned before in my 4 crazy bass track video, on one of your tone blended sources, and that can drastically change the phase relationship between the original source and this new source that you're trying to supplement with. That's huge. And I think a lot of people haven't tried to do this because they've been told that it's wrong. It keeps people from experimenting. It keeps people from being able to try things that they otherwise maybe would have done just because of, curiosity or interest. Now, at least for me, I heard early on, it's like, hey, you shouldn't take the same guitar performance and put multiple sounds on it and try to pan it left and right and do all these things. And I've actually, in a pinch, whenever I've only been provided one guitar DI, I've been able to make it kind of work by duplicating that, creating 2 distinct tones that are distinct yet similar, and panning them, and then doing some weird stereo image, tomfoolery to get them to feel like 2 completely distinct guitar performances in width. It's possible to do that. But the thing is, people will tell you that you can't do that, and you'll never know that you can until you try it. So I'm just trying to encourage you to try it. Try blending your guitar tones. So like, let's say you get guitar tracks back and you're like, oh man, this has a really beefy low end. These guitars are thick. They sound great, but I'm lacking definition. Like, I'm lacking pick attack. I'm lacking, the feeling of transient detail in these guitars. Well, one of the things I like to do, and that I would recommend you to do, is take that same guitar DI, create a low gain tone with an amp that's very articulate, and maybe, compress it to where you're getting a consistent level across those transients, then blend that in underneath those super chonky guitars, and now all of a sudden you have this distinct tone that you would have never been able to have otherwise. Yes, phase issues can arise, and you'll be able to tell them. Your low end will disappear. If you're listening, your sound sources will tell you, hey bro, you need to check something out real quick. It's so easy to adjust. Sometimes it's just as simple as flipping polarity, and sometimes you gotta use something like Auto Align. Or sometimes maybe you just didn't get the right sound and you just tweak your tone a little bit more, change the cab, change the amp, whatever it is. But I've found that, it's really simple to get out of things that sound like phase issues into something that's like, oh wow, that's actually really sick. It's really easy to get from a place that's bad to a place that's good and that you're feeling stoked about. And all it takes is a little bit of experimentation. Maybe you don't want to do this in the middle of a mix, but I would encourage you that if you are in the middle of the mix and you are, wanting more clarity, or you're wanting more beef, or you're wanting more of something, and you like the foundation that's already there for your guitars or your bass or whatever it is, take that opportunity to be like, maybe instead of EQing this, maybe instead of doing harmonic saturation or whatever the heck, maybe I'll just create a brand new tone from the same performance to supplement what I'm missing and just fade it up. Don't worry about phase. Phase will worry about itself. I'm literally just saying this. I know someone's gonna get hung up about it. Someone's gonna be like, but I was told. Dude, relax. Nobody's gonna care that you blended your tone from the same performance. Just try it. The worst thing is that it's gonna sound bad and you just either change the tone or you get rid of it. But if you ever feel like you're lacking something and you don't think that it's EQ is gonna fix it or your normal tools are gonna fix it, just take the same performance, create a new tone to supplement what you feel is missing. And I think that you're really gonna enjoy the creative freedom in mixing. And even in production, whenever you're producing a song, this is great. I think you're gonna really enjoy that creative freedom, and your productions and your mixes are gonna thank you for trying to do this in the situations where it makes sense. Or just tell me I'm crazy in the comments and whatever. Post a mix, bro. I don't know. I'm out of here.